Welcome back to another episode of Shelly's Game Kitchen. I'm Chef Shelly Meyer, and each episode I try and do some different game meat and really teach you techniques to make this healthy, lean protein easier to cook. So keep watching as I bring the forest to your table. Montana Flavor to Savor. We've spent a decade creating the best flavors with all natural ingredients, gluten-free, with no fillers or no preservatives. You can find the best flavors at Montana Flavor to Savor. Visit our website at www.mtflavortosavor.com. With an explosion of flavor that tantalizes your taste buds, there's only one way to experience the last best taste of Montana, and that's with Montana Flavor to Savor seasonings. Get yours today. So what I'm going to prepare to you today is actually emu. Now, emu is a very healthy protein, very lean, but actually it they call it the filet mignon of the game world. So it is a bird, but you do cook it to medium rare because it's a red meat bird. A lot of flavor, very much like a filet mignon. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. And I'm gonna pair that with wild huckleberry sauce. And these actually were picked by hand by my husband. Shout out to you, Bradley. So he picks me huckleberries for my clients and all the dishes that I cook. I use it a lot because they grow naturally in the wild. We just go up from the house, it's like 10 minutes away. We can pick our fill of huckleberries. Just wear a little bell around your neck because the bears like them too. So with that, I'm also gonna do a wild rice pilaf. And I'm gonna saute a little mirepoix with mushrooms, and then we'll add it to some of this wild rice. And I don't know if you realize this, but wild rice is not actually a rice or a grain, it's a seed. So I've got true wild rice. So it's the complete black rice. It's not the blended mix with you have the other. So that's what we're gonna do today. And it's gonna go wonderful with all these dishes. So let's get cooking. So let's get started on our huckleberry sauce. And so what I've got here is just some fine diced red onion. I'm gonna get that into a heated pan with some butter. We're just gonna get some color, or actually not some color, we're just gonna saute that out and bloom it so we get our flavors going. And this is one of those sauces that can go with so many things. This is great on salmon, which I do an awful lot. I love my huckleberry sauce on salmon, but I also make a huckleberry sauce in more of a sweet version, so I can make it for desserts. So got just a little bit of color on there. I've got some blackberry brandy, so I'm gonna kind of get that cooking off just to get some of that alcohol burned off. And also some wine. So let's bring that up to a boil and get those things kind of reducing down and get rid of that alcohol immediate flavor and burn. At the same time, I've got my pan over here nice and hot. I'm going to start sauteing off my mirepoix. So let's get some butter and oil. In this case, I'm going to do 50-50 olive oil and butter because I really want those flavors to be awesome in my wild rice pilaf. And that's kind of the secret when you want to use butter and such and olive oil. If you do a 50-50 blend, the butter won't burn as badly as if you just did straight butter. So I'm going to turn that down just a little bit and then get just the mirepoix in, which is your carrots, celery, and onion. And this gives nice little color because, like I was saying, I'm using that pure wild rice, so it doesn't have the different colored grains like you would in a blend. So I like to add just a little bit of pop with brightly colored veg. And so while that is going to kind of soften We've got our wonderful wine, and I can smell the alcohol has come off. So now I'm gonna add my huckleberries with the juice and everything. So what my husband does is he picks these for me and then puts them in a cryovac. So we do them in like 2-cup intervals or 2-cup portions, and then we freeze them. And then I've got immediate right out of the freezer anytime I want. Fresh huckleberries that have been frozen. But it's perfectly good. And they're super small. I don't know if you can get in there close enough to see how small the huckleberries actually are. A lot of people think they're blueberries, but they're not. They're in the same family, but they're not the same berry. But they're super small and pack a lot of punch. So we use them a lot in Montana. At least I do. So I'm also going to add in some brown sugar. So we sweeten up those berries. They're a little tart, so you want just a little bit of sugar. And then we're just going to let that boil and reduce down into a nice little nappe sauce. What I did today, because wild rice takes like an hour to cook, so I went ahead and got that done in advance so we didn't have to wait for it. So this is actually already cooked. And again, if you watch some of my other episodes, I tell you that I make my rice and things in stock. So we're adding flavor into that layering of the flavor. So it's already absorbed into flavorful liquid. So when the mirepoix is sauteed and we got nice translucent on that, then we'll add in our wild rice, and then we'll get our emu cooking. Okay, so now that my mirepoix is kind of sweated, I'm going to add in the garlic and just kind of let that bloom for 30 seconds to a minute. And then we're going to add in our mushrooms and kind of get those sweated down. And then after those sweat down, we'll add it all to our wild rice and we'll make our wild rice pilaf. So now that I've got my mirepoix all sweated down, I'm going to go ahead and add in my cooked wild rice to that. We're just going to blend it around, and then we're going to taste for seasoning. My huckleberry sauce is bubbling away, reducing down. I know it's going to be absolutely fabulous. And then what I'm going to do here, while that is blended, now it's already cooked and everything, so I've just melded all of it. Let me give a little taste for seasoning. And make sure our seasonings are all good. It needs a little bit of flavor. So I'm gonna add my seasoned salt rather than just plain old salt. I'm gonna add just a little pop of the seasoning salt to add a little bit more than just plain old salt. And that's probably because I cook with low sodium stock. So that's why it doesn't have a lot of salt in it. So we're gonna set that to the side. I'll taste it again right before I serve it, and let's get over to our emu. All right, so now we've got another pan over here. My wild rice is ready and sitting in the back. What I'm gonna do is just kind of get my emu ready. So what we wanna do is kind of season it up. I'm gonna grab some of my steak seasoning. So remember I was telling you before, it's so lean. If you compare emu to beef, beef has 17 grams of fat per portion, and emu only has less than 5 grams. So it reacts like beef and tastes like beef, but way leaner. So I'm just going to season this with some of the seasoning, steak seasoning, and I'm actually going to do that on both sides. There we go. And then I'm going to actually cut this in half, so I've got quicker cooking time and 2 portions. So our pan is good and hot. Let's get some oil in there. I'm going to do a high heat grapeseed oil. just gonna coat the bottom of that. And it is smoking and ready. Our huckleberries are reducing down nicely. So let's get our meat in this pan. Oh yes, nice sizzle. Ready to cook. And one of the fun things you'll notice about emu as it's cooking, you notice how flat it was over here when I was seasoning it, and you'll notice as it cooks, it expands. So when you're buying it in the store, notice that when it's really thin, you'll think that it's gonna be a flat steak. It's actually gonna pop up. It'll be pretty interesting. So I'm just gonna let those cook on one side and then I'll flip them. And because it's lean and it's red meat, we're gonna only cook it to medium rare. And remember how I was telling you on another episode that it's kind of hard to tell with the whole finger test. So that's why I've got my handy instant read thermometer. So when I'm ready to test it, I'll have it to the temp I want. Okay, so we're just gonna flip that one over. That one was ready to go. Let's test this side and see if it's ready to go. Not quite. So you're gotta manage your heat. Sometimes there's hot spots on a stove. So you can already see though, it's starting to expand and puff up a little bit. There we go, there's some color on that side. That's what we're looking for. And let's just leave these rest for a minute while they continue to sear on that other side. Okay, so I think I just tested those with my instant read, and they're at the temperature I want them to be. So we're gonna take those off and just let those rest for a minute, and then we're gonna plate them. So I'm gonna get our plate ready here. I need another spoon for my sauce. Wonderful huckleberry sauce for this emu. You're gonna love it. I hope you try it. And then this, we're just gonna do some of my wild rice pilaf down. It's got wonderful crisp or fresh flavors, not crisp, they're sauteed out, but the pop of fresh mirepoix on there is so good. I love it with this wild rice. I never do wild rice plain. I always do it with a little pilaf. So I'm gonna get this emu sliced up. And you're gonna look at your grain and see where your grain goes and go against the grain. Let's see how we did. I would say that's perfect. Nice medium rare. And then we can put that on top of our rice here. Then we're gonna add just a little bit of the huckleberry sauce, which makes the whole thing all come together. So there you have my emu used with my Bradley O steak seasoning over the top of wild rice pilaf and wild huckleberry sauce. I hope you enjoy. So you've been watching Shelly's Game Kitchen. Today I prepared for you emu with huckleberry sauce, picked wild by my husband over a wild rice pilaf. You can catch me on social media at Chef Shelly Meyer on Facebook and Instagram as well, or get some inspiration with my spices at Montana Flavor to Savor, www.mtflavor2savor.com. Thank you for watching this episode of Shelly's Game Kitchen. I hope you tune in next time where I continue to bring the forest to your table.